Wall Street's rally falters, stocks correct for the second straight session as trading resumes following the extended weekend. Asian markets open lower while the SGX Nifty 2 indicates a weak start for the Indian market. Oil cools as the outlook on Chinese demand remains uncertain, offsetting optimism over higher supply from Russia and Iran. Brent corrects to around $76 a barrel. Gold also hits a three-month low as strong U.S. housing data and a firm dollar weigh down safe haven demand. A day after Indigo's record 500 aircraft order, Air India signs purchase agreements for 470 aircraft at the Paris Air Show. In line with its ambitious fleet renewal and expansion strategy, the order includes over 200 aircraft from Boeing and Airbus. Paving the way for the HDFC Bank merger, the Competition Commission of India grants approval to HDFC to raise its stake in HDFC Life Insurance Company and HDFC Ergo General Insurance to above 50%. Prime Minister Modi meets key CEOs and thought leaders on his first day of his U.S. visit. Also meets Tesla chief Elon Musk, who calls India a great place for solar energy investment and remains optimistic on announcing an investment in the not-too-distant future. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio also acknowledges India's potential and says the Prime Minister is a reformer with the ability to transform. And later on the show, today marks the 9th edition of the International Day of Yoga, which was first celebrated in 2015 after a UN General Assembly designation coinciding with the summer solstice. The day aims to increase awareness of the several benefits of yoga and is celebrated with great enthusiasm across the country. And while the Prime Minister will address the UN on this occasion later today, he also did address the nation earlier.
मुझे विश्वास है योग से हम अपने स्वास्थ्य को भी बेहतर बनाएंगे और इन संकल्पों को भी आत्मसात करेंगे। हमारा शारीरिक सामर्थ्य, हमारा मानसिक विस्तार, हमारी चेतना शक्ति, हमारी सामूहिक ऊर्जा विकसित भारत का आधार बनेंगे। इसी संकल्प के साथ आप सभी को योग दिवस की एक बार फिर बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं।
All right, that is Prime Minister Modi speaking to the nation on the International Day of Yoga. In fact, there's lots more planned in terms of celebrations. He's also going to be addressing the UN. So we're going to bring you all of that in just a bit. But for starters, let's take a look at how the global markets are really doing right now. We did get a weak handover from Wall Street. And on the back of that, you have pretty much all of the Asian markets which are trading with some cuts, all barring just the Nikkei markets right now. And what's looking the worst is clearly the Hong Kong market. So the Hang Seng is seeing the sharpest cut right now, almost 300 points over there, 1.4% gone on the Hong Kong market right at the start of the session. Taiwanese index around 0.2% in the red. You have the Kospi, which is trading with a half a percent cut. So, across the board, it's quite a weak start. Nikkei is the only one which is managing to see some green, just around 0.25% in the green over there. Let's bring the SGX Nifty up for you as well. And it is indicating that the start for our own markets will be a little bit lower. So around 17 points in the red is what we have. Remember, we saw that big recovery in the last hour of trade yesterday, but looks like the start for the session today could be a little bit lower. That's what's happening in Asia. But speaking of that, let's also listen to what Stephen Roach, former Morgan Stanley Asia chairman, had to say about the outlook for the Chinese economy. Here are his thoughts.
Chinese outlook has taken a surprisingly bad turn for the worse here, and the government's responding with sort of the traditional playbook of interest rate cuts, infrastructure spending, and we'll see if it works. I think the second half will probably be a little bit better. There is a trade-off here between the cyclical stimulus measures that are going to be taken and the ongoing longer-term issues that China has with respect to growth, one of which is the ongoing conflict with the United States. But, China's got an aging problem, it's got a productivity problem, and it's being driven more by ideology than markets right now.
All right, that is Stephen Roach talking about the China growth situation and some concerns. that, have arisen on that front. But with that, let's also talk about the U.S. markets, because we did get Wall Street, which ended lower this after the extended weekend. So the S&P 500 saw a 20-point cut. The Dow was down around 250 points, so 0.7% in terms of a fall there as well. And the Nasdaq saw a 22-point cut at the close. The street actually now looks ahead to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony before the Congress tonight. That is really the big cue that we're tracking as far as the global markets go. And we have Kate Rogers here to bring us a wrap of all of the action that really transpired on Wall Street. Kate.
Markets ending lower as stocks struggle to build on last week's gain. The Dow dropping around 245 points, and the S&P down about 0.5%, and the Nasdaq also in the red. USA Today publisher Gannett is suing Google, accusing it of violating U.S. antitrust law by monopolizing the online advertising market. In a statement, Gannett chairman and CEO Michael Reed said Google's monopoly is hurting, quote, publishers, readers, and everyone else. It's just the latest in a string of legal action against Google's ad business. The DOJ, EU, and UK all have pending investigations into the company. Rivian stock rising after the EV maker announced it would adopt Tesla's charging standard. The agreement will allow Rivian's EVs to use Tesla's superchargers across the U.S. and Canada as early as spring 2024 with its next generation of vehicles, including Tesla's charging plug. Rivian's announcement follows similar moves from Ford and General Motors in recent weeks. Shares of Rivian are up more than 5% today. That's what's happening in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
All right, Kate, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action from the U.S. markets. Actually, speaking of that, here's some opinion as well. The Fed Chair Jerome Powell's message to the markets was confused and confusing. That's the word coming in from Allianz's Chief Economic Advisor, Mohammad El-Erian. Listening to his views on the Fed rate hike trajectory as well going forward.
So I called it confused and confusing. Confused because they said three things that are internally inconsistent. On the one hand, they increased the inflation forecast. They also increased the amount of hikes that they're anticipating. But on the other hand, they did not hike. So there was an inconsistent set of outcomes. Confusing, just look at the reactions in the marketplace. You have those who believe that this was a committee outcome. So it is what a committee would come out when the chair is trying to please everybody and you end up in the muddled middle. There are those who think that they are signaling a higher inflation target. And that those who think that they are making a mistake. And you saw the divergence in the performance of the equity market and the bond market because of that. So it is confusing and confused, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens next.
All right, that is the word coming in from Mohammad El-Erian, and that's what we're tracking as far as global market action and opinion goes. But let's talk about how all of the overnight cues that we just spoke about can impact our own markets and some of the individual stocks that you should have on your radar as well. Our research team is here with the trade setup. Sonal, Mangalam, and Surbi all join me now to prep you up for this trading session. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Sonal, let me come to you first. We were just going through the global market setup, and that definitely is a bit negative.
It is. That's why U.S. markets, they were lower in trade, and this is after the Juneteenth holiday. They came back, and the rally has been reversed out. The Dow Jones was down 0.7%, S&P down 0.4%, and that is something that we are seeing in the Asian markets as well. They are lower after the weaker cues that we got from Wall Street. Hang Seng is down 1.4%, so the weakness continues there, and the SGX Nifty is indicating that the start for our own markets, well, that could be in the red, 17 points lower on this one. Now, if we talk about our own markets, the second half recovery actually led to Nifty closing at day's high yesterday, 61 points higher there. And mid-cap index also ended at a record high. It was the 7th consecutive session of gains for mid-cap index as well. IT stocks and Reliance Industry, they led to the gains that we saw on Nifty, and that is something that we'll be tracking as well. So now the resistance for Nifty is at 18,850 to 18,900, and support is at 18,700. Nifty Bank 2 recovered sharply, 421 points from the lows of the day to end at 43,767. Now the 20-day moving average of Nifty Bank is the immediate resistance here, so that is an important level to track. In terms of flows, we had DIA as net buying 1,972 crore rupees in cash, and similar amount was sold by the FIIs. So that is something we'll be tracking as well. But for today, looks like it could be a start in the negative.
Okay, a start in the negative, but let's see how things move from there. Sonal, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. Surbi is also here to take us through all of the individual stocks that we should track ahead of the market open today. Surbi, take us through the list.
Good morning. So first on my radar is Shriram Finance. Now sources say that Piramal Enterprises is going to sell stake in the company. The next is Pidilite. The company is going to manufacture Litocol and 10x products from Italy in India. HDFC Life is also on my radar because the CCI approves acquisition of additional stake by HDFC in the company to over 50%. Shilpa Medicare, the company is going to consider a fundraise on June 23rd via a rights issue. And lastly, Avenue Supermarts, the VP of Buying and Merchandising has tendered his resignation effective July 1st.
Okay, Surbhi, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list of stocks. Let's also talk about all of the cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam is here with that. Mangalam, we did get that rally and that recovery pretty much towards the end of the trading session. What should we watch this morning?
Well, it was a remarkable day of trade yesterday. In fact, we opened with a cut. Thereafter, we saw some cuts all the way to the tune of 17,660. And right from the support zone, we saw a big recovery. The Nifty ended at the high point of trade. A large part of the last hour's rally was also on account of a couple of F&O related factors. It was the Nifty Bank as well as the Nifty Financial Services. Both those intraday charts come up for you side by side. And you see, there was a big rally. The Nifty Financial Services saw some short covering towards the end as well and ended above 19,500. And as a result of which, we saw the Nifty Bank do well as well. The other thing that really worked for us yesterday was the way the IT index was supporting. So towards the end, we also saw some purchase in large cap IT names. So all those factors took the Nifty once again closer to all-time highs. However, the important part to watch out for now will be the way flows move and how we navigate through the congestion of 18,850 to 18,900. The FIs yesterday sold, the DIIs bought. But remember, this has, this has been impacted by a lot of large trades that took place yesterday. So there were three major large trades: HDFC, AMC, Timken India, and Krishna Medical. So as a result of which, the flows picture has been slightly, confused, or rather, it includes all those large trades itself. So no directions coming in just based on those flows numbers. The FIs bought about 370 crores in index futures. That was more on account of short covering than long addition, and as a result of which, their longs are just at around that 52% mark. In terms of options, because the Nifty recovered from lows, all those guys who had written the 18,800 call had to cover their positions. So we had some call shedding out there, and 18,700 call writers as well were extremely active and unwound their positions because they were caught on the wrong side. But we did get a lot of put writing at 18,800, and that's positive because that's telling you that the Nifty support continues to move higher and continues to stay strong. So the Nifty support range largely between 18,650 to 18,700, congestion 18,850 to 18,900. For the Nifty Bank, 20-day moving average is a bit of a resistance, so that's something that we'll have to watch out for despite the recovery that we saw yesterday. Just a handful of stocks that I'll be keeping an eye out on. Hind Copper and BHEL have entered F&O ban, and out of F&O ban are Manappuram, Tata Chem as well as Z Entertainment Enterprises. So we'll watch out for all those counters.
All right, we will watch out for all of that. Mangalam, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues that you're looking at as well from the futures and options space. But with that, I also want to bring you a quick update from the aviation space. Of course, we were talking about the big Interglobe order yesterday, and now Air India has signed purchase agreements for 470 aircraft from Airbus and Boeing at the ongoing Paris Air Show. So in an attempt to increase its fleet, the Maharaja has ordered 250 Airbus aircraft and 220 Boeing jets as well. And Boeing says that this is its biggest order that we've seen in South Asia. So the aviation space really continues to be in focus. But let's also talk about the commodity space. Manisha joins us for an update on that front. Manisha, what are you looking at this morning?
Pavitra, thank you. I'm looking at the crude oil prices, which after losing a percentage point overnight have seen some buying come in right now. Well, the China crude imports have slipped in the month of May, and the stockpiles are at 2-year highs. So that's weighing onto the crude oil prices. Also, there is some dollar strength right now, and markets do believe that the China stimulus may not be enough to revive growth, and that is weighing on crude prices and various other industrial metals as well. But the street will watch out for the U.S. Fed Powell testimony today and tomorrow to understand on what the cues are for the rate hikes going forward from here. As I said, according to the crude oil prices, that's exactly what you have seen for the metal prices also. Iron ore has come off its 2-month highs. Copper is off its initial gains as well. The China rate cut, which is the first time in 10 months, is seen small at 10 basis points. And the markets are waiting for a larger liquidity injection. If that doesn't come, then you are looking at markets coming down yet again.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action from the commodity space. That is everything that we're looking at in terms of cues from the equities and commodity markets. But with that, it is time for a break on the show. When we come back, Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands in the United States and meets key CEOs and thought leaders. More on that when we come back. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18. And let's talk about the Prime Minister's U.S. visit now. On the first day of his state visit to the U.S., he met members of the Indian diaspora in New York who greeted him with vibrant celebrations, including music and folk dance performances. The Prime Minister also met key U.S. CEOs and thought leaders, including Tesla chief Elon Musk, who believes that India is a great ground for solar energy investment. And he also remains optimistic of announcing an investment in the country very soon. The Prime Minister also met prominent investor Ray Dalio, physicist Neil deGrasse, as well as financial market analyst Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Here is what they had to say.
I think there's a tremendous amount of potential for all three pillars of the sustainable energy future. The three pillars being sustainable energy generation through solar and wind primarily. And obviously India is great for solar. The amount of land area you actually need to generate enough electricity to power India is very small. I believe it'd be probably 1 or 2% of the land area of India. So it's very doable. And then you need to pair that with stationary battery packs because the sun doesn't shine at night. And then you need electric vehicles. And then you have a sustainable energy future. And I think it will, the interesting thing people will find is that this is a lower cost way to go as well. That may surprise people. And we're also hopefully looking forward to bringing Starlink to India as well. You know, the Starlink internet, which I think can be incredibly helpful for sort of remote or rural villages where they perhaps either may have no access to internet or the internet is very expensive and slow. He did. Yes, I'm tentatively planning to visit India again next year.
Prime Minister Modi is a man whose time has come at the time that India's time has come. The potential of India is enormous, and you have now a reformer, a radical reformer, who has the ability to transform it and the popularity to transform it. So I think India and Prime Minister Modi are at a juncture in which there's going to create a tremendous opportunity, tremendous changes in India that are going to be really startling.
I connect with His Excellency the Prime Minister. We sat down, he mentioned anti-fragile, we spoke about bouncing back from adversity, and we spoke about essentially risk-taking. So it was wonderful, and I also commended India on the response to COVID and how, you know, India was very efficiently dealt with it, particularly with the food, the distribution, and all of that.
All right, those are some important snippets of, the thought leaders coming through after the meet with Prime Minister Modi. But with that, we are going to get into a short break. Up next, as we celebrate World Yoga Day today, we're going to get you some special tips on improving your body's health. All of this after this short break. Welcome back to Power Breakfast. Now, like we were telling you, today marks the 9th edition of the International Day of Yoga, which was first celebrated in 2015. This coincides with the summer solstice, and the day aims to really increase awareness of the several health benefits of yoga and is being celebrated with great enthusiasm across the country. Remember, on this, the Prime Minister will also be addressing the UN at the headquarters later today. So, we're going to bring you more from that. But for those of you who are working from office or, perhaps spending long hours working from a desk all day, here are some exercises that can really, help if you have some kind of strain on your back. If you have any aching or stiffness in your back, here are a few exercises that could help you and can be performed at your desk.
Now, if you're someone who spends long hours at your desk, then back issues or spinal cord problems is something that you must have faced at some point in time in your life. But how do you stretch and strengthen your back while you are in your chair at your desk? To tell us more, we are joined in by YouTuber Yogini Rashmi Ramesh. Rashmi, welcome to CNBC TV 18.
Thank you very much. So for the back and spine, it's important to have mobility and movement throughout your spine.
Sure.
So we'll do 3 simple exercises.
Perfect.
Focusing mostly on your cervical, your lumbar, and a little bit of stretching to the side.
Sure.
Yeah. So you place your palms either on the handle of your chair or on your knees, however you feel comfortable. You inhale, slowly push your chest out and look up with your head. And as you exhale, slowly touch your chin to your chest and push your spine to the back. Do it a couple more times. Inhale, push your chest out, look up with your head. Exhale, slowly touch your chin to your chest and push your abdomen to the back. And slowly come back to the center. We move on to doing sideways stretches. So you place your palm on the handle of your chair, raise your opposite hand up and stretch to the side. Feel like somebody is really pulling you sideways. Slowly inhale, come back to the center, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Raise your arm up, stretch to the side, tilt your head slightly upwards. Keep stretching. Slowly inhale, come back to the center. Last one we'll do is a spinal twist. Sure. So you place your right palm on your left handle, left hand behind you, look beyond your shoulder and twist. While you hold this, keep breathing. Slowly come back to the center, and same thing on the other side. Left palm on your right handle, right arm behind you, twist, look beyond your right shoulder, and then slowly come back to the center.
All right, this already feels so good. Thank you so much for sharing these stretches and twists with us, Rashmi.
My pleasure.
All right, that is some helpful information for everybody that's working long hours, perhaps sitting at an office desk. But with that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that most of the Asian markets are in the red, with Hang Seng leading the losses, 1.7% in the red over there. The SGX Nifty also indicates a weak start, around 20 points in the red. Thank you for tuning into Power Breakfast. We have Bazaar Morning Call up in 2.